Hello and welcome back to the Yarslow Model Railway. It's good to have you with me for another 15 minutes or so. Better chat about what's been going on, and I'm delighted to say that a bit more has been going on than the last time that we sat here together, because I'm kind of feeling as if I need to get back into it, and I've got a few things done. So here we go. Let's tell you what's been going on. Well, the overbridge is done. I haven't finished the roadway yet, but you can see that I've done the side walls and painted them. Here's the road extending now right through to the back scene. The building I haven't quite decided on the right, and I've got that slope coming down to the left behind the wall. So that's what it's going to look like at the platform end. Got a few bits and pieces still to add, parapet wall there and some fences clearly to go on to protect the road users, but I'm really pleased with the way this has come out. It's very simple. I'll show you how it's made in a little while, but this back wall has been added. It sits a platform height. There'll be a gate between that and the building, and then there's another wall to go in that gap there, and there's a bit more wall coming all the way down here. Beyond the platform end I've got some scenery to add, which will run along behind where this hut and the lorry is going to be. It'll run all the way down to the signal box. So Yarslow is coming together. I'm really pleased with the way that this is coming together. Won't put the platform tops on yet until I've done all the ballasting and weathering of the track, but I think that's going to look really nice. So here's that back wall, and it fits in up the back there. Let me just explain how these things are made. They are framer's card, as you can see, just ordinary 1mm framer's card, faced with plastic card, brick embossed plastic card. This is a kind of random stone. The top is 50 thou, just basically made to look pretty. Pillars are 2 layers of card, as you can see. They're very simple, stuck together with red Evo stick. Pillars on the end, they are just scored and folded round, again with 50 thou shaped caps. Again, the whole thing sits 17mm high, which is the height of the platform, and it's going to sit in the back there and just disappear behind the station building to give an impression that there's life beyond the edge of the baseboard. So that's going to look quite nice. So it's painted with a mortar colour all over it. It's this sort of greeny mortar colour. You've got to make sure you get into all of the mortar courses, and I leave the colour on the top because it does add something to the texture. You can see with this one the bricks are slightly different colours because of that undercoat, and I'll show you how we do that colour. It's the same colour I've done for the building, as you can see here. So let's talk about how we paint them. Very simple. Flat brush, a little bit of paint, not a lot, and then you're holding the brush very flat and painting diagonally. We don't want to get paint in the mortar courses, so the brush is very flat. This was explained to me a long time ago as flat brushing. You haven't got a lot of paint on your brush. It's like a dry brush, probably a bit wetter than a dry brush finish. So you dip in the paint, use a scrap, a bit of something just to load your brush, and just paint diagonally. And you can see the wall begins to come to light in front of you. You're better off doing 2 or 3 light coats than you are trying to splodge this on and do it all in one coat. You might get some diagonal lines. Just go the other way and get rid of those. Touch individual bricks in if you have to. It's not a race. Take your time, and you'll see that the wall begins to come to life. Bit by bit, work your way along. You work away from edges and corners. So you can see I've started from the top, and then if needs be you can turn around, make sure your brush is nice and flat, and work away from that bottom edge. If you do put too much paint on your brush and you get a little bit in the mortar course, it's not the end of the world, but it's easier to avoid it. And you can get the impression of the wall. You're not looking for an even tone over every brick. The secret of this is to give it a bit of texture. And that's what it looks like when you've finished. Now the wing walls of the new signal box, which I'll come on to in a minute, I've done a bit of green here, green number 30, Humbrol 30, and this is to give the impression of a bit of damp walking up the wall. If I just zoom in, you can see how I've done that. It's literally just splodged on. The line, the black line, incidentally, is the line of the scenery, so there's no point painting below that. But you'll be amazed that you see that green does have an impact on the colour of the brick. It kind of gives it a greeny hue. So here's that back wall duly finished and painted and fitted in, and you can see that that really makes quite a nice scene. I've got the tops to paint. They get painted mortar colour. In that last shot of the Class 25, you glimpsed this. This is the new Yarslow South signal box. This has been done really to cut the point rodding in half. So all the stuff that's down this end of the board will be driven by this particular signal box. You see those wing walls that I painted earlier. And here's the bridge from the other side. And I have done a bit of extra polystyrene and filler here just to blend the new bridge in. I've got all that filler and paint to do. I've got a bit to do at the front. I did mark on the edge of the baseboard where the bridge was going. It's important that the bridge goes in the same place every time, so these two arrows help me to identify that. And it's always a good idea when you're doing a job to write the Humbrol paint numbers on the job so that you know what you're using. If you come back to it a couple of weeks and can't remember, it's a bit embarrassing. But those Wills Victorian bridge casts have been painted. They've been rust washed and black washed just to weather them down, and I'm really pleased with that. They've come out really well, and the amount of time I spent getting this brickwork to look right on the corners was well worth the effort. I think that overall I'm really pleased with. Now, an altogether different problem is how to disguise this facing crossover, which as far as the real railway is concerned shouldn't exist. It has to on the model, so that you can get from the up main line back onto the down side of the storage sidings and then come through the loops here, through this crossover and onto the Trinity Square storage line, which is the centre of those three empty tracks. And then a train can reverse through the point work and run onto the cartridge, which is situated here. Now, the original plan for this area was to have a building of some ilk situated where this old ratio factory is, and have it a suitable height to hide the crossover. And if you put it next to the track, it needs to be about 2.5 stories high. If you're operating from controller D, which is here, this is the one that operates the permanent way yard, the building's got to go right to the end in order to hide the crossover. You can see how high it's got to be. If you're standing at this side by the bridge and looking back, it's got to be fairly big to hide that crossover. You don't want to be able to see that there going through the back scene. So the simple solution turned out to be, rather than have a massive building, to have a building in a slightly different place. If you put the building back a bit, the crossover disappears. And if you're operating from the controller, you can make the building long enough so that the whole crossover disappears completely without having a massive, great big tall building. So that's the solution I'm going for. Now, on the subject of hiding things, I've just mocked up, using my framer's card again, some buildings to cover the lever frame and the controller at Yarslow. This will just be brick faced. It doesn't matter what it is. Originally it was going to be a stables, but it would be in the wrong place to be a stables. Stables for the shunting horses, of course. So I'm just going to make it some kind of large storage building that sits on railway premises, and beside it there'll be a slightly smaller shed. Again, I was going to put doors and windows, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to put this as some kind of store, and obviously there'll be a front scene, raised front scene on this to blend it all together. But when you look down the railway, those two buildings just help frame the scene, and I like the way that looks. The Pigeon train has a new cartridge, so I thought I'd give it a run around the layout for you. Now, it's been rather quiet on the branch. I haven't done an awful lot here, the buildings you saw in the last video, but I have now completed the top for butter bump platform. This is actually ballast, glued on with PVA and then painted with Humbrol 160, and I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. I haven't yet done the edging stones. They're going to be painted some kind of concrete-y looking colour. But the texture of this is really lovely. I need to bed the building in. It sits rather on top of the stones at the moment. But I'm really pleased with the way that comes out. From a distance, it looks nice and rural. And that's about where we are. Now, let me tell you that at Yarslow at the moment, I am painting the rail sides and ballasting. I've done the branch because the point rodding on the branch is done. The up line, the up main line, between the entrance at Yarslow right through to the road bridge is painted, as is the bit the other side going off to the exit by the permanent way yard. I've done the whole down line as well. The point rodding for the branch signal boxes, junction signal boxes I think it's going to be called, for the up and down lines is both done. So I'm now going to ballast those two right through to the overbridge. I haven't done any of the rodding for the new south signal box yet. That's still to come, but progress is being made. And it was interesting, the other day I was just sorting out some pictures and I found this photo. This was taken just before Christmas, and then if you compare that with a photo that was taken a few weeks ago, progress really has been made. We've gone from having open bits of wood screwed together where the Trinity Square didn't even exist to having a branch with some scenery. So that kind of perked me up a bit. I'm back on it, thankfully. Thanks for staying along. Thanks for sticking with me. I look forward to giving you some more progress in future weeks. I know I've been promising some quick bites. I really have been focusing on the railway, but I will do some quick bites, promise, honest, Scout's honour, and I'll see you soon.